Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. So I'm continuing with autumnal cards, and because I don't have any autumnal stamps or dies, I'm painting all the images myself, and in this video I will be painting leaves going from green to yellow, red and then brown. It is a very simple painting, perfect for beginners. The products I'm using to paint the leaves are minimal. You need watercolors, a watercolor cardstock, brush and a pencil. I'm going to also use some other products to make the card. The list of the products you can always find over on my website, the link is in the description. So I started by drawing 4 leaves next to each other, and each leaf was overlapping a little bit the other. I could have drawn the leaves freehand, but as you can see, I used a leaf that I picked outside. I just pressed it in a book so it's flat and dry. I wanted the leaves to be all same size, and this way it was much easier, but you can always draw it freehand, or if you have stamps or dies, you can use those. I also used an eraser at the end to lighten the pencil lines because I thought they were a little bit too dark and I didn't want them to be visible. Next, I started painting. The idea here is to the wet on wet technique, but not by applying clean water and then adding the color. I mixed the water with paint right away, and while it was wet, I added darker paint to create interesting shapes and to make it more organic, like the wet on wet technique always does. I dried the leaf with my heat gun and then I painted the veins of the leaf. I sort of followed the pattern of the leaf that I used for the drawing. I used the top of the round brush to paint those, and I'm not really good making thin lines with this brush, even though it has a really fine tip. You can see it especially on the yellow leaf. It is not too bad. All I want to say is that I need a lot of practice. I'm just not really good at keeping my hands steady. Or actually, I should have done what I did on my practice piece and use a thin brush with long bristles, which worked way better. Also, the color I used to paint the veins is the same color I used to add to the leaf to create those darker blotches of color. Actually, talking about the colors I used, for the first leaf I used a lighter green for the main color, it's the sap green, and then I added the darker green, which is the hooker's green. For the yellow, I used the yellow ochre, which is like a mustard yellow, and I added a darker brown to it, which is the burnt umber. This brown was really annoying and it was driving me crazy compared to the other paints where when I added the water it created a pool and it stayed like that for a while. But with this brown the water was instantly absorbed. Or was it absorbed? It was leaking from below. I really don't know what the issue with this brown is, but it was really annoying. For the third leaf, the red-orange leaf, I used the cadmium red, which is more like orange red, and to that one I added the burnt sienna, which is reddish brown. And for the last leaf, I used the burnt sienna, and I also added a few additional colors. I added the dark brown again, which I also used to paint the veins. Then I added this dark red called alizarin crimson, not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And then I also added the deep cadmium red, and I think that's it. I will have the list of the colors in the corresponding blog post if you want to have a look. You can pick so many colors. Right now, when I'm recording this voiceover, the autumn is here in a full swing. Our village is surrounded by forests and the colors are just crazy and so beautiful. I forgot to mention, I was inspired by a painting that I saw on the channel Let's Make Art. It's an older video. The first time I saw it, it was last year. And as I was looking for ideas for autumnal cards, this painting popped right into my head. I will leave the link to this video in the description below. So here are the painted leaves. It looks really pretty and autumnal. By the way, if you like this painting so far, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Next, because I'm making a card, I'm going to start by stamping a sentiment. If you don't have sentiment stamps, you can skip this step. I was first thinking stamping in black, which would also look good, but then I decided to heat emboss it. So I started by treating my cardstock with an anti-static powder. This is actually the EK Success powder tool, but it broke, so I put it into a jar and I apply it with a fluffy brush. I'm using a stamping tool for the stamping. If you don't have it, you can use an acrylic block. I use the Versamark ink, which is a sticky ink, and after I stamped the sentiment, I sprinkled the embossing powder over it, and then I melted the powder using my heat tool. The embossing powder is the metallic brass from WOW. I adhered the panel on top of a card base that I made using a craft cardstock. I used a simple double-sided tape, but you can also use a foam tape. It looks great, but I had the feeling that it still needs something. It might be because I'm watching videos by Christina Werner way too much. I decided to add a dash line using a gel pen. I recently bought a bunch of gel pens in Lidl, and this golden pen was a great match to the metallic brass embossing. But I did not dare to go freehand, I used a ruler. And I do think the dash line was a really good finishing touch, it brought it all together. So the card is finished. If you like the idea of painting your own images instead of using stamps and dies, click on the playlist that is on your screens now. All the images on the cards I painted myself. They are all budget friendly and for beginners. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.